the right units and the right strategy and the right move out can pay off so much than it is compared to a StarCraft 2, where it just seems so incredibly difficult to do that consistently for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As we get into it, let's have a look at the units. So CuKu is going to be in the green, and he's going to play Scorpion and Blink Hunters, and Jmoney going to play Recall Blink Hunter. Both have mortars and destroyers in the lineup. Oh, we could really be in for some longer games.
Yep, Jmoney has snipers as well. Snipers are incredibly sick against mortars if you can ever get there, but it's not going to be that easy. Jmoney's got an interesting Starforge setup as well, right? Advanced, what are they called? Advanced
Recalls?
Advanced Recalls, yeah, I got smacked by those earlier today. And he's got the Mammoth as well. That's also an interesting one.
Advanced Recalls are so freaking good. Like, I think these things are underrated. I played a lot of like just massed ground units, like Blink Advanced Recalls and stuff, and just like people just don't expect them to like hit as hard as they hit. So unless they have like serious splash damage, they just melt things. They melt Crusaders and all sorts. So it's a fun unit to play. But
Look at
against
this.
mortars, we're not going to see it.
2-base stack for both players, and both of them obviously playing Mortar Destroyer. Now that's odd, because I have no idea how that would even look. Mortar Destroyer, I mean, it feels... Destroyers are absolutely amazing if they can ever shoot at what they are supposed to shoot at. But if mortars are already sieged up, it seems like that is going to be unlikely. What do you think this works out better for, the Scorpion player or the Recall player?
I think Scorpions, because Recalls are going to be very slow to get towards mortars at all, whereas the Scorpions can absolutely close the gap on mortars, and while they don't kill them quickly, at least they can kind of get up close and actually like set up like a big surround. The Recalls will trade better against the Scorpions, though. I just don't see the Recalls being able to have value against the mortars once they come into play. As that Recall's not big enough, and the Scorpions try and take advantage, but now they're going to get trapped in deep. They're just going to sort of send it.
That may have actually been bait by Jmoney, and it worked out kind of well, but he does still need a couple of recallers at home. Probably shouldn't recall all of them. Earlier in the week, in one of the Discord conversations that we had about Battle Aces, Jmoneymagic did say, I absolutely love when people try to go for run-bys against recallers. Go ahead and try to do it over and over and over again. I will always get my units in time, and I'll just get free pickups. As this is kind of a battle of who can siege up his mortars first. We are playing this game on Europe. It was absolutely Jmoney, by the way, who sieged up quite a bit quicker than CuKu, but CuKu got a few more mortars sieged up. And it's actually CuKu who takes a better fight, even though it was Jmoney who sieged up first.
And CuKu at the end was actually sending a couple of Scorpions forward. I don't know if that was intentional or what, but he actually kept on sending the Scorpions forward, so he actually soaked some mortar shots and then got his own mortars to fire instead of taking mortar fire himself. So helped him get the mortar advantage, and that's a big lead, right? And you can just set up so aggressively here, and like this is what I mean. Like, the recalls are not going to get in reach of these mortars. They are just going to have no shot at that. So this is rough, because now you can slow push around the right side and just deny mining on the third while also getting towards the natural. This is very tough already for Jmoney.
Yep. CuKu has played a crazy amount of games in the last 2 weeks with the mortars. He is a big mortar enjoyer as he's going up to 4 bases. I do want to say that I like the idea of snipers in tier 3, but I just don't know if Jmoneymagic is ever going to get there, as he uses the recallers, but in range of this many mortars. They got nerfed a couple times, Rotti, but you still cannot stand right in front of 5 or 6 mortars. CuKu takes a pretty convincing 1-0 lead.
I think if that happens, I would have rather seen Jmoney give up the third, get to the snipers, and at least then just try and take like an incredibly good fight where the snipers, because there's nothing that can really kill the snipers easily on the side of CuKu, right? So the snipers outrange the mortars, the Scorpions I don't think will get too close to the snipers, so maybe just give up the third base, which doesn't feel good, but at least if you give up the third, you're alive. And then you get to the snipers and there's maybe a chance, whereas trying to hold the third when you're outmortared like 6-2, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
It was a very interesting skirmish in the center when they both brought their mortars forward, because it really was Jmoney who sieged up first, but his mortars were kind of sieged up in a line, while CuKu really had his mortars in a group, sieged all of them up. They all participated in the fight immediately, and what you mentioned with the Scorpions, I didn't catch all of it because there were so many things to look at, but it must have happened because it was supposed to be Jmoney's fight, with how much quicker he was there and how he sieged up earlier, but it wasn't. So CuKu just really got the best of Jmoney in that mortar situation.
I'm going to play the rematch here, as we had a little bit of a change. Jmoney goes into the Dragonfly instead of the Advanced Recall on his Starforge tech, and I think that's purely because it gives him more choice. You're never going to play Advanced Recalls against mortars. It just doesn't make sense to tech that way. Where at least now you have a realistic threat in the sky if you go into your Starforge. So I think that's the idea of switching it up here.
I do feel that Jmoney, even if he lost the game, he had some good defense, right? Because CuKu went for multiple run-bys, a couple times full of the Scorpions, and I actually felt that Jmoney handled them really well. And that tiny recall in the center, I don't know if it was on purpose, an accident, or if it was bait, but it worked out really well because it made CuKu commit to the fight, and then all the other recallers came on top of the Scorpions. And it really was, I would say, Jmoney who got the better trades. This is obviously CuKu really handled that mortar fight a lot better.
Yeah, he really did. Recalls. I'm going to recall over to the natural there. Third base is coming up, trying to use Scorpions in multiple different places. And I love this. Just going to force a recall to the third base. Then we're going to run to the natural. There's a Scorpion in the main. Just units everywhere, but never really overly committed. Just trying to make his opponent move around as we keep recalling.
I was wondering if we could get one worker in the main, but no.
Oh, not even.
Not even one. 4 bases for Jmoneymagic. Well, CuKu is going to play 3 base stacks. So, man, that feels rough, no? Because how are you going to keep those mortars at bay?
So, you probably can't on the third base, but it's actually kind of nice having the fourth, because I think the biggest problem with mortars right now is this third base is so easy to move forward onto in Siege. At least if you force the mortars down to the bottom towards your fourth, you have such a more open area to kind of engage into them on. So maybe that's kind of the idea here. Maybe that's the idea. Get up to 4 bases, have more space. He's going to play air as well, so he's going to have the dragonflies. I think he's just going to play a very mobile game and try and just move the mortars around with the, the bases, and then use the dragonflies to kind of counterattack and to kind of make that work for himself. So interesting idea, completely different strategy to what he went for game 1.
Yep, I love it. And CuKu going up to 4 bases as well, still trying to find an opening with his Scorpions. He's moving them around incredibly nicely, but he's just not finding an opening because Jmoney really is on top of his movement so far. He's going to have to micro a little bit here because there were a lot of Scorpions. CuKu is willing to send it right now at the bottom right. The only anti-air that CuKu is going to have, by the way, are the tier 1 blink. It's not bad, but I don't know if it's something that you really want to rely on for a long time.
I had to take a 4th base as CuKu as well, so you did invest into that, so you put some power into it. It's not just going to be purely mortars from him. Jmoney drops the 5th, and obviously with recall, you can do this very aggressively.
Against mortar, this seems crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't... the idea is cool, but maybe if the army was already across the map, now obviously it's just going to die, so that was kind of a waste of money.
Yep, that's 400 down the drain, yeah. I mean, sure, it does buy you some time, it keeps your center safe, it gives you time to... Wow, he went mass mammoth. How do the mammoths do against mortars? I feel like mortars are always good enough. And we've got destroyers as well, no? Aren't those amazing too?
I actually don't know how they interact, because they changed the mortar's damage output against some of these units like a couple patches ago. So I'm not sure how well the mortars do now, as the mammoths are going to get stuck up here. They're just going to be abandoned. No!
Jmoney. I mean, like yes, your recallers can recall, but your 9 mammoths cannot recall, my friend. That was one hell of a donation for just the base. And if you see how easily CuKu took out the base in the bottom side for absolutely nothing, this was not the play by Jmoneymagic.
This would have been better to just fight, because he didn't even really trade with these guys. I feel like if he just stood and fight, he would have had a little bit out of this. Now he's going to try and push the center, but there's mortars already set up here, and even with the tanky mammoths, it just ain't going to be good enough. The destroyer is actually very good against the mammoths, so that's where I don't think this really works out. Maybe it would have been better just to try, maybe go dragonflies, but there's too much of a donation top left, because it just takes out so much momentum in your army. And yeah, anything you try and do now is going to be kind of rough. We see a few dragonflies showing up, but they don't even have the damage to do anything about this in time. The destroyers will do so well. This base is not going to last long at all. And CuKu has waltzed into a 2-0 lead. 2
very big donations, right? First, that 5th base in the bottom side of the map. I mean, that could have been tier 3 air attack, right? That could have changed maybe how this game would play out a little bit. And then taking out the top left is awesome, but then recalling everything home and just donating every single mammoth is a little bit too much. It is going to be a 2-0 lead for CuKu in this best of 7. I think now we should switch to NA for 2 games, by the way. I didn't want to do it per game because I feel like that would be a lot of switching, but I think after 2 games it's fair, and now we do 2 games on NA. So I'll just let Indy know quickly.
Do we all have to switch to NA?
Yes, we all have to switch to NA.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
To keep it fair, obviously. So the first 2 games were in Europe. The next 2 games are going to be played on NA. 2-0 lead for
Beautiful.
CuKu, and pretty convincingly, right, to be fair. I feel like that first game was very close with the mortars, and I was like, oh, maybe if that mortar fight goes better for Jmoney, it's his game. But in the second game, I just felt that Jmoney made a few mistakes you cannot make against really good players. And, well, CuKu was here for a week, Rotti. That boy was grinding, man, from the very beginning of the day till the very end. He was playing battle aces all day, every day, duking it out with Clem and whatnot. And, yeah, I feel like CuKu is... I don't know how good he is compared to some of the other guys we have here tonight, but he's already pretty damn good. And you can't give him freebies like that. That 5th base was too much, and all the mammoths was too much.
Yeah. Like, the problem is, it's just like recall into the 5th base can be such a cool play in so many matchups, but against, like, the mortars, and the mortars aren't even out on the map already, right? Like, maybe if you, like, get him to the top side to hit, like, for him to defend the 4th, then you set up the base, recall bottom, you kill the 3rd or something, maybe that could have been it, but, like, that's just obviously didn't hit at all, so...
Alright.
Off we go.
Game 3, NA server though, that's important to mention. We're going to do Game 3 and Game 4 on the NA server, and after that we can swap 1-1. We'll consider it an NBA finals, you know, 2 home, 2 away, and then 1-1-1. CuKu 2-0 up in the bottom left, once more playing with the Scorpions, Destroyers, Mortars, and maybe some heavy ballistas. I feel like CuKu is not a big air boy, by the way. I haven't really seen him play too much air. And Jmoney is going to try to clean it up a little bit with the recallers, now with ping advantage.
Yeah, CuKu was mortaring me the first time I played him as well. And the mortars were really good then as well. I was like, everyone was playing mortars. I was like absolutely reluctant. I was like, CuKu, bro, not you as well.
It's the first thing that I think I taught him, because I was playing the game a little bit before him, so I just introduced him to the game and I showed him the power of the mortar. And I could see that twinkle in his eyes, you know. It was at that point I knew I lost him to the mortar forever.
You created a monster, Rotti.
Yeah, I know, he's an addict, but it's okay. As long as he's having fun, it is all good. Once more, a dance between the recallers and the Scorpions. Obviously, Scorpions are not mega expensive, so it's not the end of the world to lose 1 or 2. But CuKu needs to be careful, can't lose too money for nothing. He's also trying to bait out recalls, by the way. That's cool, right? Just kind of trying to stretch the multitasking of Jmoney a little bit.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing. Like, the recall cooldown isn't a lot, but a lot of things happen quickly in this game. So if you bait a recall and then you can, you know, capitalize on that, then brilliant. And of course, you're just kind of forcing him to constantly think about how many units he wants to send back home and so on. So trying to get that going as our Scorpions come to the front. A few recalls come back to the front as well. And we're waiting to see, obviously, techs come online. We're going to go the air tech route from Jmoney as well. Really interested to see if he's going to stick with the Mammoths and just what he did generally in the last game, or if there's something different planned. Both of them go 4th base at the same time.
Yeah, I'd love to maybe see a bunch of Dragonflies, because I think Dragonflies, if you can get them out in large numbers, it is going to be very hard for the tier 1 anti-air of CuKu to always be in the right place. So far, it does seem that Jmoney is playing a pretty clean Game 3. Hasn't really given any openings yet. CuKu now getting on top of the workers for the first time. Gets 1, but in return will bleed out 4 or 5 Scorpions. And he's going to go for the bottom right again. Will it be Mammoths or is it going to be Dragonflies? It is going to be at least a bunch of Dragonflies to start. CuKu still has no anti-air, by the way. He's actually only spamming Mortars and Destroyers. He needs to get way more anti-air.
Yeah, he's starting to build some Blink Hunters now, but again, it really comes down to numbers. And if the Dragonflies are just good, you know, in good enough numbers and they can kill the first few Blink Hunters, then you're going to start being in a lot of trouble very quickly. You're going to see these flying in right now. The Dragonflies will get to work. They're just going to target down some of the Mortars, which I don't hate either. If you get rid of these Mortars, the rest of your army can very likely come and take a fight. Yeah. So when you get rid of a bunch of those, and here come the rest of the Blink Hunters, but only, well, no tech left at all, basically. Now the recalls get to the front. They're going to be able to fight those Scorpions very effectively. Maybe time for the Dragonflies to get out of there, though, because at this point they're fighting Blink Hunters, which they maybe shouldn't be. They're taking a lot of damage and going down. I mean, the recalls can push forward, but now there's new mortars, and that's why keeping the Dragonflies alive would have been nice, because now you've lost the power that you had previously, though you still have position on the 3rd.
Yeah, exactly. As long as the mortars are not really protecting this base, it shouldn't be that bad. I do agree with you. Jmoney could have been a little bit more cautious with all these very expensive Dragonflies, especially because now in the end he doesn't even get the base. There was more potential here for Jmoney. He played a beautiful early game. I think at one point just pull those Dragonflies back, and if the Blink Hunters want to keep chasing, well, then they'll be running into the recallers. As he once more goes up to a 5th base, by the way, recalls everything into the bottom. He's trying to flank the Mortars. What on earth am I watching?
He is actually going to get on top of these reinforcements, and the Mortars not yet siege is obviously a big deal, so these recalls diving deep, man. I love it.
He's so crazy. Look at where they are. He's going to go for the base. Oh my god, they actually deal crazy damage to buildings. The natural of CuKu gets a snipe. Eventually he's going to have to recall, though the mortars of CuKu did siege up. Where did we recall to? To the dead center.
Yeah, dead center and can just kind of reinforce. Now we're going to see some mammoths coming out as well. So after kind of putting a lot of work in, he is going to start moving forward with mammoths on the map. And I think the dragonflies have pretty much all gone down. There's a couple new ones that are about. There's one mortar on this top side, but not really enough to go defending this top left base. So I think that's going to be the push right here. That one mortar's getting a lot of shots off. Should have just committed to it. And let the mammoths put the work in, but yeah, just should have sent the recalls at this point.
Either you go for it or you don't, right? Jmoney a little bit indecisive. Recalls everything to the center. Does CuKu have mortars? Yes, he's got 3 of them, 4 of them, and they're gonna all siege up as CuKu finds a fight. Oh, Jmoney was in such a good spot. He is gonna move forward. He's gonna commit on the mortars. He's gonna get each and every single one of them, and he needs more units here, though. He's got 110 supply, but I don't know where it is because I don't see it yet.
Yeah, he just needs to get a defense though, because he's killed the top left base, so he's up a base if he holds this off, and the recalls are putting in the work. The thing is, these are blink hunters on the ground, so in a ground versus ground fight, they're just not as good. And the destroyers don't really do too much either. A few dragonflies put in the work. Yeah, you're right. He could just back away right now. He's up a base. Just let this kind of be. He's actually up on his tier 3 air tech, which is the Valkyrie. Isn't actually that amazing against the ground, but is going to just be used here anyway, so add some of those in. Yeah,
it is good enough. Jmoney gets a point on the board against CuKu. USA strikes back. Good game, but honestly could have been a tiny bit cleaner from Jmoney, especially when he got so much momentum going in the center. I think CuKu was just a little bit too greedy. He built so many mortars, so many destroyers, while he knew obviously it was air attack. And maybe he just thought it was going to be mammoths once more, but yeah, obviously it could be dragonflies. And CuKu's anti-air was just not in high enough numbers at first, and Jmoney could have taken a way better fight if he didn't let those dragonflies battle all by themselves forever. But in the end, it was good enough. We've got a series on our hands, Rotti.
I kind of love this is my first time really like watching like a full like best of, or like a longer best of. It's like properly like, you know, one game after the other and stuff. And it's like, I really love like the back and forth of like little adjustments they make game to game. There's not like major deck switches going on, but just like little things and like little different tech paths being made. This whole series is like one big story, you know, and there's a little bit of a momentum swing here and there. Very fun to see as we have no changes again on the units going into a game number 4, with Jmoney having struck back. He's in the red, CuKu's in the green. Game number 4.
Would actually like to maybe see CuKu try to play air as well, because it's not even that Jmoney is completely out expending him, right, with the recall guys. Maybe he's going up to 4 bases a tiny bit quicker, but not a whole lot. So I think technically CuKu could just try to dance with Jmoney and maybe turn it into a airship battle. And I do feel that CuKu, he seems a little bit quicker, he seems a little bit sharper across the board. Jmoney won it last game, and it felt that he really won it on strategy. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think winning an entire best of 7 on strategy and like a surprise element is going to be a bit difficult.
Yeah, strategy can only take you so far, right? Unless you can keep switching it up. That's cool. Insta-attack.
2 base, that's odd to play recall, 2 base air attack, but okay. Could be Mammoth, could be Dragonflies. Interesting here, very different. At least he's putting on a show, eh, that Jmoney. He's really switching it up.
Do you think there's a good answer to the Mammoths if he just goes for like a 2-base push? Maybe that's the idea. 2-base push onto that third, get the third denied, and then just expand on the back of that. Could be the plan here from Jmoney. We're going to go teching air from CuKu, so he's switching it up himself. He said you'd like to see him play air. Obviously, this is going to be in a bit of a different vibe with the fact that Jmoney's teched so early, as the Scorpion is going to land an attack onto this forward third.
CuKu needs to be careful, can't be bleeding out too many Scorpions. Ends up losing one there, quick recall. Yeah, this is odd. I'm very, very curious to see what Jmoney will be building as soon as his tech is online. I assume it's Mammoth. I think you're right, and I think he's just trying to once more get the best of CuKu in the strategy department. We're going to build 3 Mammoths immediately. It's going to take a little while before CuKu can get his hands on Falcons. And I don't know how Scorpions would ever do against Mammoth and Recall.
Yeah, I don't think very well. It's just not the DPS from the Scorpions alone. So that's what the air units are going to come for, but we are already pushing forwards. The question will be, is it going to be enough? As we need the recalls to be here. The problem is you have to recall some of the recalls over to the third, the natural, to be able to defend. He didn't have as many in the front, and now the Scorpions in just good numbers are going to be able to come through. We have some Blink Hunters as well, just in case Dragonflies were made. Look at the recalls in the back. They're doing great, but they just weren't there to really help the Mammoths out. So just a good enough surround, and CuKu absolutely wins this fight.
Yep, needs to recall home immediately. It was actually very nice for CuKu that he made a bunch of blink hunters, even if there was no air. But then you're at least not pure melee, right? Because if he would be pure Scorpion there forever, it just feels that his Scorpions are going to run circles around each other and there's no surface area. Having a bunch of range units to deal a little bit of damage on these mammoths was awesome. I do agree with you that Jmoney should have synced up his army a little bit more. I think he got a tiny bit too excited about the fight that he thought was going to be an amazing fight for him.
Yeah, I think so too. The Falcons so difficult to get rid of now. They are absolute beasts. There's not really a good answer unless you go tier 3 tech at this point. I don't think so. This is going to be kind of just Jmoney gonna die off as a few butterflies will do what they can, but a couple of airships will very quickly clean up that as we continue to push on forwards. The recalls are still getting pushed away, and we are looking good as GG will be called. And that's going to be CuKu to a 3-1 lead.
Yep, I felt it was a game with potential there by Jmoney. I kind of liked what he was doing. I liked the idea behind it, and it could have worked out perfectly. It's just that recallers are very strong in the battle, but they are slow, right? They're great in teleporting around the map, but if you rally them to the other side of the map, almost every single tier 2 unit is gonna walk away from them. And it felt that Jmoney just made a mistake that the mammoths were just by themselves a little too long, or maybe perhaps not in high enough numbers. Maybe we should have just had a few more. Oh well, there was potential there. So we go back to Europe now, or we stay NA? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I said back. I said 2-2-1-1-1. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll swap to Europe for game 6. 5. Sorry. 5. Counting is hard.
It's hard to keep up, man. Ain't easy.
Yep. So a 3-1 lead for CuKu right now means it's match point. If CuKu wins the next game, game 5, he'll walk away with $150. Obviously, Jmoney will still get 50 for playing. Two players that were incredibly confident coming into this best of 7. It's working out for CuKu so far, but there were definitely a lot of close moments in this series. And I feel like this is the kind of series that if I was Jmoney and it does go CuKu's way, I'll be kicking myself for it, because you can't say that the opportunities weren't there.
Oh no, absolutely. It's been a very winnable matchup. You can see there's been good ideas, just some mistakes made along the way, as we still see no real switch up on the unit department, so they're both still happy with that. If they go air versus air again, I think it's actually a pretty good matchup for CuKu, because the Falcons are really good, very difficult to stop with just blink hunters, and dragonflies don't really present themselves as an answer. So I think Jmoney would have to go like to the Valkyries on tier 3. But I don't know if he survives to get to that point, so I actually wouldn't mind seeing CuKu play air a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't mind the idea of Jmoney just playing ground and going for tier 3 ground, because snipers in decent numbers are insane, and then heavy ballistas are going to have a very hard time having any sort of an impact on these matches. So let's see, can go either way. Let's see how Jmoney is going to play it. CuKu already setting up potentially multiple run bys, just looking for a worker or two. Every single worker counts.
Every single worker means a lot, as we do try and dive a bit more aggressively towards the main this time than we've done in the previous games. Hey. It's so fun to see how players use the first kind of set of units in different ways. Like, some people really like to dive through, some people like to kind of just keep them back. It's there's so much creativity even just on those basic units, as it's going to be ground of CuKu and air from Jmoney. Yeah,
that's interesting. We haven't really seen this yet, right? Of 2 bases.
2 base versus 2 base tech.
Surprised that. I always think it's kind of odd when people who play Wasp or play Recall go for 2 base tech, because these are like the best opening units. I feel like to just go up to 3 bases safely. I feel like you have an answer for almost everything, but yeah, CuKu's gonna have to defend once more, maybe with the Blink Hunters, but obviously if Jmoney wants, he can spam Mammoths. But I don't know how I feel about Mammoths, because CuKu has Destroyers and Mortars, and it feels like there is literally nothing better on the ground than that.
Yeah, the Destroyers should absolutely destroy the Mammoths, so it kind of feels like then you're in a bit of a weird spot. So then maybe you go Dragonflies and you just hope to get enough Dragonfly action going. To be fair, the Dragonflies, last time he went for this kind of a play, were very effective. They got a lot of the Mortars initially. They really opened up the game for him. I mean, that was the game they ended up winning, right? So potential. Ooh, good scout. The Scorpion saw the Dragonfly. Yeah,
there's already a lot of Blink Hunters in the center of the map. Jmoney is going to have to be very careful, but obviously the Blink Hunters can fight by themselves. The Recallers are here in pretty high numbers. Interesting skirmish here. I bet CuKu wishes he just had like a single mortar, but apparently he does not need it. These Blink Hunters, whenever they teleport forward or blink forward, it always does seem pretty intimidating. This is going to be a tough fight right now for Jmoney, especially if we cannot position our air units correctly.
Yes, the weakness of the Dragonfly is they just die very, very quickly. However, the Recalls are going to show their power right now. Love the Recall to get in range a little further. Mammoth should just go get on top of that mortar already, I think, if we can get there. But the Destroyer absolutely wrecks the Mammoth. You see how quickly it goes down? That was just the Destroyer. Now we have a mortar still up and running, so that mortar-destroyer combination is so freaking good. And that third base may just be dead. I don't think the recalls can step into this anymore. Some more Mammoths are going to show up. Well, we don't have any Destroyers anymore, but the third base is down. That's already a massive win, and we're just going to stand and fight. I mean, knocking down Mammoths right now is honestly pretty good on the side of CuKu, as he does get more Destroyers showing up. So they're going to be great. Kill off the Mammoths, and he's going to kill everything else as well.
Yep, that is not going to do it. Is that a tiny dance there of Scorpions?
Dance, absolutely.
A tiny dance as these boys were bantering with each other a little. It does seem that the second best of 7 is going to go CuKu's way with a 4-1 final score. Jmoneymagic, our Oklahoma RTS Passion Lord, is going to be forced to tap out. GG. CuKu gets the dub, walks away with 150 buckies. Strong showing by him there, man. That one Destroyer was putting in some work. Jmoney knew that he had to take care of the mortar, but if you go for the mortar, the Destroyer is just doing its thing on the Mammoth. If you go for the Mammoth or for the Destroyer, then obviously the mortar is just waiting away. It's a tough choice to make there, but well done by CuKu.